Lincoln Community Concert Band is presenting their final concert of the season next Monday, May 18th, 7 p.m. at Kimball Recital Hall on the UNL campus. The program celebrates America's 250th birthday with a new composition, in fact, a couple of new compositions. There's a new composition written by a Nebraska composer, Nolan Schmidt, on the program. The piece is inspired by Nebraska's I-80 Sculpture Garden, which is a wide-ranging garden, I guess, physically, I should say, at rest stops all across I-80, and the tradition of town bands across the country. For more about this, I am joined by LCCB co-directors Lance Nielsen and Mike Murphy. Good morning, you guys.
Good morning. It's really great to be here.
Thanks for coming in. This is kind of a big national milestone that you've chosen to celebrate. How do you reflect something like that through music?
Well, we have created a concert. It's really going to be two parts. We're even going to have an intermission, which is kind of unusual for us. But the first half of the concert is really music that kind of reflects different historical moments. So we have like the American Civil War fantasy. We have Elegy for a Young American, which Mike want to talk a little more about, and The Greatest Generation. So music that reflects the history. The second half of the program, we are inviting Auburn Music and the Unity Choir from Nebraska Wesleyan to join us, and that will be a little bit more of just a celebration of America in the semi-quincentennial. So you'll hear America the Beautiful, this Carmen Dragon version, which is fabulous. And we also found a beautiful Battle Hymn of the Republic piece. It's just gorgeous. And then here's the kicker. We're ending course with Stars and Stripes, but did you know there's words for a choir to sing along with the Stars and Stripes forever?
Did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
Well, come to the concert and you will get to hear it.
And sing it if you would like.
You're inviting sing-alongs?
Sure.
Sounds
We'll just
good.
have to get the words to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, I mentioned Nolan's piece and this I-80 project. If people have driven along I-80 and used the rest stops, they have seen sculptures at each of these. How does Nolan's piece specifically connect to the America 250?
So Nebraska Arts Council, and along with Nebraska Tourism, is doing a rededication because this the 500-mile sculpture garden was created for the 1976 bicentennial event, and so there's 7 of the 8 still available. And when we were looking at this with Nebraskans for the Arts, which I'm an executive director for, we saw an interconnection with community bands because the sculpture at the Ashland rest stop is called Memorial to the American Bandstand. And community bands have been very much a part of our American culture. And so we asked if we could commission our work with Nolan. He did a fabulous job of connecting kind of music themes that reflect a lot of those sculptures, but also just about the landscape of Nebraska. And then you will also hear some patriotic little motives like things from the Star Spangled Banner, Stars and Stripes, which kind of brings into that band music a little bit. So it's a really lovely piece. I think people really will enjoy it.
I love the importance of the community band or the community concert band in small towns. You see some of these bandstands in places. There's little performance spaces. Even where I grew up in Palmyra, there's a beautiful little gazebo that's big enough to put a little band on. Makes me think we should just bring that back. Go into a park and listen to some band music. Tell us about working with these composers and how you have 2 world premieres.
Right. I'll talk a little bit about the other piece that's a world premiere. We're lucky at LCCB to have a resident composer, Garrett Hope. Garrett writes for the band. He has a publishing company, and then we play his music, and then he can get recordings and put his music out there. And Garrett also performs with the band on bass often. But Garrett wrote a piece called If Men Were Angels, and I find it very interesting. The entire quote is, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. And this is from the Federalist Papers, specifically Federalist 51, which was written by James Madison. And I think most people know, but if they don't, the Federalist Papers were a series of 85 essays written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. And they were meant to persuade the people of New York to vote in favor of ratification of the U.S. Constitution. And Federalist 51 specifically deals with the checks and balances in our government, not only within the federal government, but also the checks and balances that exist between the states' rights and the federal rights. So it's a really, really interesting tie-in, I think, to the music. And I'd like to read this. It's short here, but a brief paragraph, because Garrett, the composer, is more profound in explaining it than I would be. But referring to his piece, the music is deeply patriotic, and its patriotism lies in the structure itself. Moments of grandeur emerge in brass chorales, yet they're balanced by punctuating woodwind lines and percussion that keep strict time like a constitutional safeguard. No voice dominates for long. Tensions build and resolve only through interplay and counterpoint. It's a musical reflection of checks and balances, deliberate imbalances that find harmony when every part contributes. And I just love, of course, that idea for, of course, our experiment, this republic that we have. But it's so wondrous, I think, as a musician and a conductor, to be able to demonstrate that musically. And so in a bit of a nutshell, that's what Garrett's piece is about.
Well, before we run out of time, anything else that you want to be sure and highlight about this upcoming concert for listeners? You mentioned that there's some folks joining you in part of the program.
Yes, we have Auburn Music Choir and Unity Choir from Nebraska Wesleyan will be joining us. We also have Sergeant Frank Stroop from the 43rd Army Band. He's actually going to conduct one of the pieces and also play trumpet with us. We'll have some other soloists with us. So the concert, I'll let Mike tell details about the concert.
The concert is Monday, May 18th. It's at 7 p.m. at Kimball Recital Hall, and it is free. And it's going to be quite an extravaganza. And we just would love people to come, and not only to hear just the great music, but to hear the people in the band, adults who just want to keep making music. That's what this is about. And one of the interesting things I think about our concerts is you can sit and look through the program, and we have a listing of what everyone in the band does for their occupation, they're retired, whatever it might be. And it's just great to see people continuing to make music from all different facets of life.
Beautiful. We love to see it. The Lincoln Community Concert Band, they're putting on their final concert of the season, America 250. And as Mike just said, that's taking place on Monday, May 18th, 7 p.m., Kimball Recital Hall on the UNL campus, free and open to the public here. And my guests here today were co-directors of the band, Dr. Lance Nielsen and Mike Murphy. Thank you once again. This has been fun to chat about.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you want to learn more about the Lincoln Community Concert Band, go to the Friday Live page. That is online, nebraskapublicmedia.org.